the day they threw me out. Boston was drowning in a storm. Not a polite drizzle, but a downpour that slammed against windows and turned sidewalks into rivers. I stood on the brownstone steps, backpack sagging as rain soaked through the canvas. "You're a disgrace, Claire," my mother snapped, her voice cutting through the downpour like glass. "An absolute failure." Behind her, my father loomed, silent, jaw locked tight, the same expression he'd worn the night I told them I wanted to design video games instead of joining Whittaker and Sons, the family's revered law firm. "All these years," my mother hissed, "all that preparation, for you to throw it away on childish fantasies?" I was 18, fresh off my first year at Boston University. My crime? Refusing to transfer to Harvard Law as they'd demanded. I didn't want a courtroom. I wanted to create worlds, build games that transported people. "If you leave now," she said, voice hard, "don't come back. You'll get nothing." I pulled up my hood and met her glare. Good. They expected begging, regret. I gave them my back. Rain swallowed me as I descended the steps, leaving behind the Beacon Hill townhouse that had always felt more like a museum than a home. Her final words rang after me. "You'll fail, Claire. You'll crawl back when your silly dreams fall apart." But I never looked back. The early months were rough. I crashed on my roommate Eva's futon, juggling a bookstore job by day and waiting tables by night. Every spare second was spent coding, sketching characters, learning Unity. Eva's tiny apartment became my war room. While my parents mingled at charity galas, I sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by sketch pads, half-empty coffee cups, and the quiet hum of determination. "You're insane," Eva would say with a grin, watching me work until sunrise, but in the best possible way. She wasn't wrong. 6 months in, I got my first break. A scrappy indie game I built on weekends caught the attention of a small Boston startup. The offer wasn't flashy, but it was real, a junior dev position with flexible hours and room to grow. I leapt at it. Whittaker and Sons lived for tradition, courtrooms, legacy clients, the weight of a name etched in mahogany. They couldn't understand why anyone would pour their soul into code and concept art. But I saw something else. I saw potential. In pixels, in players, in possibility. While they clung to legacy, I was learning VR development, storytelling systems, the scaffolding of new realities. 1 year turned into 2, then 3. I rose through the ranks, eventually becoming lead designer at a different studio. My first major project, a story-driven indie game, gained traction online. I wasn't rich, but I was independent. I rented a shoebox loft in Cambridge and poured myself into the craft. Now and then, through mutual friends, I caught wind of my family. My cousin Amelia had stepped into the role once reserved for me. My parents continued hosting lavish dinners, posing as Boston's legal elite. They erased me from their narrative. That was fine. I was writing a new one. Everything changed 4 years after that storm. The game I'd been building had evolved into something more, a platform for indie developers to create immersive stories without needing a full studio. I named it Dreamforge Studios. When venture capital interest came knocking, I was ready. Our first round valued us at $18 million. 6 months later, we doubled that. I moved into a sleek condo near Kendall Square but kept my lifestyle simple. Every dime went into talent, tools, and traction. Eva, who once gave me a futon, was now our creative director. "Look at us," she'd say, eyes scanning the bright, humming office, from instant noodles to industry disruptors. I'd just smile, remembering rain-soaked streets and slammed doors. Then one morning, a name flashed across my desk, Whittaker and Sons. The firm was in trouble. While I chased the future, they'd stayed frozen in the past. Revenue had plunged. Their once ironclad client base was slipping away. The firm needed to modernize, or die. Curious, I dug into the numbers. The rumors didn't exaggerate. They were hemorrhaging cash. It would take about $5 million to give them a chance to pivot, embrace legal tech, and stay relevant. I stared at the screen, heart steady. The daughter they disowned might just be the only one who could save them. I was staring at spreadsheets when my phone lit up. The number was one I hadn't seen in 6 years, but I'd never forgotten it. My mother. I let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. On the fourth ring, her words from that night echoed in my mind. You're a disgrace, Claire, an absolute failure. I picked up on the fifth. Hello, Mother, I said, voice calm and steady. I've been expecting this call. Silence. For a moment, I thought she might hang up. Then, finally, she cleared her throat. Claire, her voice was thinner than I remembered, stripped of its steel. We need to talk. I leaned back, eyes on the rain tracing slow lines down my office window. Yes, I said, we do. The Whittaker and Sons building hadn't changed. Same towering columns, same polished brass plaque, same partners in tailored suits striding through the marble lobby with the quiet arrogance of legacy. But I had changed. As I stepped through the revolving doors, the past rushed up to meet me, nights sneaking into my father's study to read court transcripts. Saturday mornings spent shadowing hearings. The constant chorus of legacy, duty, reputation. Miss Whittaker? The receptionist blinked, recognition dawning. Your mother is waiting in the main conference room. I nodded, smoothing my navy blazer, not out of fear, those days were long gone, but because optics still mattered. In the elevator, I mentally reviewed their financials. Whittaker and Sons was bleeding out, profits down 55%, client exodus accelerating. The Titanic had already struck the iceberg. The conference room door opened. And I saw what 6 years of denial and decline looked like. My mother, Margaret Whittaker, once unshakable, looked worn. Her designer suit hung loose, the sharpness in her eyes dulled, mascara smudged faintly beneath them. Beside her, my father sat silent, hands steepled. His once silver hair was now thinning, his gaze hollowed by years of stubborn tradition. Amelia stood by the window, arms crossed. Her posture was tense, her jaw tight. The family's heir apparent looked less like a leader now and more like a deer cornered in its own castle. Claire, my mother said softly, rising halfway before sinking back down. She extended a hand, then retracted it awkwardly. Thank you for coming. I set my laptop case on the long table and took a seat at the far end. Let's skip the pleasantries, I said. I've reviewed the numbers. Amelia turned sharply from the window, her cheeks coloring. You've been spying on us. Public records, Amelia, I replied. You're not as private or as relevant as you think. My father flinched at the word, you. Not we, not ours. My mother recovered first, falling back into her courtroom cadence. We've faced setbacks. The market is volatile. Our clients are fleeing. I cut in. Because you refused to evolve. Law today is automation, AI contracts, blockchain archives. You're running a firm like it's 1987. Amelia scoffed. And what? You think games make you an expert in corporate law? Without a word, I opened my laptop and cast the Dreamforge investor deck onto the screen. $420 million in annual revenue. 280% year-over-year growth. Strategic partnerships with global tech leaders. The room froze. My mother stared at the glowing numbers, her face pale. You're behind Dreamforge? She whispered. Founder and CEO, I said. What started as a childish fantasy became something bigger than this firm ever dreamed. She said nothing. Finally, she murmured, we need $5 million. A bridge loan to restructure and modernize. We're offering favorable terms. I'm not interested in a loan, I said. I slid a folder across the table. I'm offering an acquisition. The word landed like thunder. Amelia's chair scraped loudly as she stepped forward. Acquisition? You want to buy us? Your own family? I gave a quiet laugh. Funny, I remember you telling people I didn't exist anymore. Harvard Gala, wasn't it? You said you were an only child. She froze. I'd heard every word. Claire, my mother began, shifting into her old, coaxing tone. We're still your family, surely. We can find a solution that honors our bond? No, I interrupted. You forfeited that 6 years ago. This is business. I tapped the folder. Dreamforge will acquire Whittaker and Sons for $22 million. We'll retain most staff, integrate legal tech, and use your expertise to expand into legal services. The name stays, for now, but the power shifts. Amelia's face twisted. And us? What happens to the family? You'll be offered roles in the new division, I said. Entry level. Advancement based on performance, not bloodline. Father can serve as a legacy consultant until retirement. Mother, well, her contacts may help, if she chooses to stay relevant. My father's hands shook as he opened the contract. And if we refuse? He asked quietly. Then you collapse, I said. Your clients leave, your partners walk, and Whitaker and Sons becomes a footnote. Silence fell. Amelia turned to me, eyes burning. You've been waiting for this. No, I said. I was too busy building something worth having. My mother's voice cracked. How long do we have? I stood, lifting the folder. The offer expires at midnight. Midnight? My father echoed. That's not enough time. We need to speak with the board. Consider options? You have no other options, I said, and no more time. I paused at the door, then turned back. Oh, one last thing. I met their eyes, one by one. When you sign, and you will sign, I want you to use the same Montblanc pen you used to sign the letter that cut off my art school funding. The one engraved with Whitaker and Sons. I believe it's still in your desk drawer. Mother. The flicker of shock across her face confirmed it. She remembered that pen, and what it had cost me. How did you? She began. I'll be back at 11:45 p.m. I cut in. Try not to be late. Time is money. Isn't that what you always taught me? And then I left them, seated in a conference room thick with shattered pride and a contract that could rewrite history. As the elevator doors closed, my reflection stared back from brushed steel. For the first time in this building, I didn't see a daughter. I saw a Victor. 11:43 p.m. Boston's skyline shimmered below like scattered stars across black silk. I stood by the window where Amelia had earlier. Now my silhouette cast long shadows over the city. The door clicked open. They were on time. My mother walked in first, followed by my father and Amelia. All three were different now, drained, hollow-eyed. My mother held a slim leather pen case, her white knuckles betraying the effort it took not to shake. The partners approved the acquisition, she said, voice ragged. I didn't turn, just nodded. I expected nothing less. You had no other choice. Amelia collapsed into a chair, unlooping her scarf. You've won, Claire. Is that what you wanted? I turned from the window. No, what I wanted was the truth. My father sank into a seat like a man years older than he'd been that morning. You're too much like him, he said. I didn't need to ask who he meant. Edmund Whitaker was a visionary, my father murmured. In the 50s, he saw change coming. Tech, speed, innovation. Everyone thought he was mad, even his own father. He opened the pen case. Gold gleamed under the soft lights. But he built this firm from nothing. And you. He met my gaze. You've got that same fire. It terrified me. Because I'm not like you, I said, suddenly understanding. You're a caretaker. He was a builder. I wanted stability, he whispered, when you started talking about AI contracts and digital law. I saw Edmund in you. I saw risk. And I panicked. He looked away, eyes damp. My mother placed a hand on his arm. We thought we were protecting you, she said. Amelia is like her father. Predictable. Safe. I leaned forward, my voice quiet but certain. And look where safe got you, on the edge of ruin, while the dreamer you cast out built a tech empire. My father nodded once, slowly. We were wrong. About everything. About you. He pulled the engraved Montblanc pen from the case. Before I sign, tell me, what happened after that night? I sat across from him, memory rushing like wind through an open door. I slept on Eva's futon, waitressed by day, coded by night. My first game barely ran, but I learned, I built, and with every bug I fixed, I got stronger. I held out my phone, showing them a screenshot of that glitchy, clunky game. Ugly as sin, I said with a laugh, but it worked. Amelia leaned forward despite herself. And the investors? They came to me. I had users, revenue, proof of concept. I didn't need their money, they needed my momentum, just like you do now. My father held the pen like it weighed 1,000 pounds. And once we sign? Exactly as I said, Amelia starts fresh. Mother uses her network. You consult and retire with dignity. But the firm? The firm becomes what Edmund dreamed it could be. He hesitated. You could have let us collapse. I could have, I said, but I'm a builder, not a destroyer. 11:59 p.m. The pen touched the page. My mother wiped silent tears. Amelia signed without hesitation. My father paused, then looked up and gripped my wrist. Claire, I'm sorry. I know, I said gently, but it's yourself you need to forgive, for being afraid to evolve. Amelia looked at me, voice soft. Can we ever be a family again? That depends. Are you ready to build something new, instead of clinging to what's already broken? They nodded. Good. Board meeting at 9 o'clock sharp. Don't be late. We've got a firm to rebuild. In the elevator, I breathed for the first time in hours. I thought of the 18-year-old girl with a backpack, a rejection letter, and a stubborn spark of ambition. If someone had told her she'd own the building she was thrown out of, she wouldn't have believed it. But dreams don't need permission. They just need someone bold enough to chase them. Outside, Eva was waiting, grinning. Well, she asked, boss battle over? I held up the signed contract. Whitaker & Sons is officially part of Dreamforge Studios. She whistled. And the family feud? A work in progress, I said, but for the first time in 6 years, it's real progress. Victory wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving me right. Everything else? Just noise. Tomorrow, the real work begins. But I'm ready. I'm Claire Whitaker, once the failure. Now, the architect of her own empire. And this is just the beginning. If this story meant something to you, share it, drop a comment, tell me what risks you've taken, or want to, because proving yourself right, that's where power begins. Subscribe, let's keep building, together.